All right, everyone. Thanks for clicking play. My name is Joseph Bach from Luma Health, and I'm joined by Kevin Railsback as well as Ryan Burnett. Normally, I would go through and do some introductions, but I'm a little bit peeved, and I just want to ask the question right off the rip. Kevin, what's wrong with using just reminders to reduce no-shows? What's your take?
Thanks, Joe, and happy to be here with everybody. So the quick take is using just reminders, especially only one-way reminders, doesn't give patients an option to get back on the schedule. It leaves the patient in the lurch if they can't make their appointment, and it leaves your staff in the lurch having to reach back out to patients who either didn't show up, they just no-showed, or if they were able to cancel in advance, they're just left, hitting the phones, trying to get that patient back on the schedule. Ultimately, it is deeply impacting the show rate for your clinic.
So I guess basically the patient flow, what the patient experiences with like just a basic reminder is like they're getting a text that says, hey, you have an appointment coming up, hope you can make it. And it just kind of stops there.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, the problem is that a patient who, for whatever reason, can no longer make their appointment usually doesn't have the ability to let you know that they're not coming in. The problem is that a lot of clinics are looking at no-show rate as their North Star for calendar utilization, which is ultimately a little deceiving because the no-show rate, no-show patients are just patients who would have canceled if they could have told you, or if they had time to tell you, or a way to tell you. And this is where Joe and I have really developed a counterintuitive approach of it's not about lowering no-shows, it's about increasing your cancellation rate.
Okay, a lot to chew on there. So if they only have the option, or if they're only receiving a reminder and they can't make it there, then basically what a health system or practice or clinic is asking the patient is to, hey, give us a call, say that you can't make it, sit on hold for however long, or coordinate, pull out your pocketbook. Is that a thing anymore? Pull out your phone, look at your calendar and say, this works, no, this works, yeah, okay, and then your book. So that doesn't seem all that feasible for someone that is pretty busy. Okay, so you're talking about moving from a mindset of like, we're tracking and trying to optimize for no-shows, but you're making a case for this idea of calendar utilization. Can I do that with just basic reminders?
You can't really do it without then having heavy staff involvement after the reminder, because let's say at the best you've got two-way reminders, so the patient cancels and it updates into your PM system in your EHR. Unfortunately, that then requires either the patient to go through what you described, Joe, which is call in and wait on hold. And if you check your call abandon rates, likely that patient waits too long and it's a big, heavy manual process. It still requires staff to pick up the call. Now you're tying up the phones. Or the patient doesn't go through that process and your staff at the end of the day has to run a cancellation call list. Call response rates being under 20%, it's not an effective process, which is why what we're suggesting is adding the capability into your reminder cadence to let a patient rebook themselves after a cancellation. The goal here is drive cancellation rates up and then give patients the option to rebook themselves in an easy and efficient manner.
So instead of thinking reminders, start thinking reminders plus rebooking. That's really interesting. All right. So I think maybe it would be a good time to see what this actually looks like. And so I didn't introduce Ryan earlier, but Ryan is an implementation manager here at Luma Health. And so Ryan, I believe I don't want to take away all of the attention here, but there's two actual workflows that Luma Health can support when it comes to this idea of calendar utilization and patient rebooking.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show what I'm talking about here. So I just sent Kevin a reminder. And so this is our demo environment, and I just sent Kevin a reminder here. And this is our basic reminder that you can add some special things here. But either way, so a patient receives this. And like Kevin was mentioning, they aren't going to be able to make this appointment time. So let's say that they just respond with something simple, saying like, I need to reschedule. So Kevin types out, I need to reschedule. We pull that into Luma, and what's interesting here is, oh look, we've got a few options ready for him to rebook that automatically. So again, the patient
Hey,
just
Ryan, can I pause you just for a
Mhm.
second here? Because we just jumped through a whole lot. So a basic reminder would just say you have an appointment at this time. But I also see there's the reply yes to confirm or no to cancel. And so essentially like that is inviting actual engagement from the patient, right? Whereas without that, you wouldn't know if they're disengaged or not.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So this is actually an actionable message, right? It's not just something that we're sending to them and hoping that they read. This is something that they can interact with. And so with this, they can obviously confirm or cancel, like you're mentioning, or they can type out another response, something like, I need to reschedule. They can give us an emoji or something like that to let us know if they're planning on, making this appointment or not. And like I was mentioning, I just gave you an example of what a patient could reply. So there's, an infinite number of replies that we can handle on our side. But in this case, the reschedule reply was what Kevin triggered here. And that's great because that, like you were mentioning, this automatically happens. There's nothing the staff needs to do here to make this happen for this patient. The patient did this themselves. They are having a conversation with Luma, and we are able to again trigger that reschedule workflow. We want them to be coming at a time and place that works for them. And so in this case, they had an appointment on the 21st, but it doesn't look like it's going to work for them. So we offer a couple of different options here as maybe something that they can make. So you can see here that we're looking at the first 3 options to a patient. And let's say the patient responds with either a number or the date. So let's say they respond back with something like the one on the 23rd. And so they respond back with that. And you'll notice that here that that's not really a response that's quite exactly what we wanted. But you'll notice here that we understood it, that happened automatically. The patient did all of this themselves. There was no staff involvement, and they were able to book a new appointment just like that.
That's pretty awesome. And that's just one of the workflows that we can support with this idea of rebooking.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's just one of the workflows. And again, this is all triggered by the patient. So the second workflow is also triggered by the patient. It's a little different. So Joe, I'm going to actually kind of switch patients here and go to you. So Joe is about to get a reminder message, and we're going to walk through what that's going to look like for him. So Joe is going to get this reminder, and it's going to pop up here in just a second. And then I'm going to talk through how a patient can trigger the second flow. So again, a normal reminder message, that actionable reminder message from Luma, where they can interact back and forth with us. And so this patient, so Joe in this case, is going to try to cancel his appointment, right? So he reads this and says, okay, I'm going to respond back with the word no, just like the reminder asked me to do, because I am not able to make this time. So you'll see here that this comes up, but you'll notice that the message that we sent back to the patient automatically has a nice, clean registration link or reschedule link for them to click on. And if I was on my phone, I could just click on this link here. But this link right here will take them to a scheduling page. So if I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up here, and you'll notice that as soon as we open this page, we're presented with availabilities for the provider, facility, and appointment type that I just canceled. So in this workflow.
And Ryan, is this page mobile responsive?
It is, Joe. So this is a great call. So if I were to go look at this as a mobile view, you'll see that it's very mobile friendly.
Oh, nice.
It looks really good on a mobile phone, and you can even translate this into different languages if you need to support that. So very mobile friendly. I can choose a date here that works best for me, and I can even see the dates that have availability to meet my needs.
I want to go back to this workflow differentiation that we're describing. One of which, the first one is very on the fly, responsive patient saying reschedule. We're offering times that patient can rebook within the text stream. But I also want to talk about really quickly the perspective that Luma Health has that I think is so powerful in terms of actual patient engagement versus patient communication. A one-way reminder is patient communication. I've told the patient what I'd like them to do, but I haven't given them the ability to actually engage. And just the simple, if we go to the flow with Joe, the simple micro commitment that this patient makes that says, no, I can't come in at this time. And that there's a little micro commitment that's happening, which is I am engaged enough to tell you that I'm not a no-show, I'm a cancel. And we make that really easy with our reminders at Luma Health. But adding this second capability to let the patient then say, hey, thanks for engaging with us. Please take this next right step. It's super easy. It's right here on your cell phone. That is the real difference that we are offering from this one-way reminder system that I would say at this point, nearly every practice has. And if you're a Luma client and you have reminders, this is the logical next step. If you've taken the step to truly engage with your patients, to let them actually confirm and cancel ahead of appointments, giving them this next step not only empowers the patient to take their healthcare into their hands, but also relieves that staff burden of having to either field a call from a patient who wants to reschedule, or even worse, run a cancellation list at the end of the day and making endless manual calls, trying to get that patient to take the next right step, when we can take that process, automate it, both empower the patient and relieve your staff of additional burden.
Okay, all right. So we've gone through the two flows. Obviously, on the link side of things, patient can click that button, fill out a form, and then get booked. So I got to be honest, I've seen some really cool things. What are the gotchas, right? What is it? Is this some perfect ideal state that can only be achieved for one particular customer? What does it take? Ryan, I learned something recently about white space, in terms of if an integration can support that. Can you expand on what that means a little bit? Because it sounds like the scheduling workflow rebooking would require that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the integrations we support have what we call something that we call white space. You might call it something different. White space is simply just availabilities, right? So a provider has their template or their schedule set up in whatever EHR you're using. And our ability to read what we call white space is just pulling out the availabilities there that a provider has an opening that isn't, or that is not booked by an appointment yet. So we want to make sure that we can pull back in those white spaces. So like in our workflow that we were just showing, that we are showing the correct times for a patient to rebook their appointment. So integration white space is really a key aspect of this, because this will help a patient get to the correct time, place, and location for their care.
That's really interesting, because the other gotcha, Kevin, would be, well, quite frankly, providers can be pretty protective of their schedule and want control. Does this concept sound very, very nice in theory, but when it actually comes into the real world, it comes to a grinding halt, so to speak?
Joe, it's a really good question. And I've been working with practices over the last 3-4 years on this issue. Certain people in the practice can't wait to turn on online scheduling, and providers, for very understandable reasons, say, it might be too much access for a patient to have, because the patient might not know what appointment type they need. The patient might think they have one problem, but they actually have another. And what we found is that this cancellation rebooking capability actually is such a powerful bridge into opening up scheduling and bringing some of those providers that may have hesitations about open white space scheduling into a workflow that is extremely protective of their schedules. Because one of the important concepts that we build into this rebooking is when a patient is canceling or rescheduling from a reminder, Luma already knows some critical facts. Like, we know who this patient was seeing, which provider, where they were going, what the location is. We know the appointment type, and we know the duration of that appointment. So some of the logic that we build into this rebooking feature is that when we then go search that white space that Ryan was mentioning, we are only looking for white space that matches the same provider, the same location, the same appointment type, and the same duration. So from a convincing providers that this is a safe thing to do with their schedules, we are literally only offering the white space that matches up with the exact same appointment that that patient has canceled. So what we really are providing here is this bridge into online scheduling and digital access for patients that has a 0% chance of booking the wrong appointment for the wrong provider for the wrong patient. So this is like the safest way. If you have some provider pushback or some administrative pushback to offering digital access to patients, there is no safer way to dip your toe into the water than this. And the impact that it has on not reducing no-shows, but actually improving calendar utilization, improving overall show rate. This is that kind of reverse logic that we were talking about. It's not about lowering no-shows. It's about actually driving up cancellations, because no-shows are cancellation patients who just didn't tell you. So if you can get them to tell you, I can't make it in, and you immediately offer them the ability to get back on the schedule in a way that is both easy and convenient for the patient, plus is easy and convenient for staff and is safe for providers' schedules, it's a no-lose situation.
All right. Okay. So I guess my last gotcha question would be, requires integration, new workflow, have to know all the things about an appointment and doctors and all that stuff. Sounds kind of involved. Ryan, from an implementation standpoint, since that's your 9 to 5, so to speak, what are we actually looking at here in terms of how much do I have to move the entire world to make this happen?
Yeah, good question. And the short answer is no. There's some things obviously that we need to double check and make sure that we're reading that white space correctly and that you're set up for this. But the short answer is this is a very, very quick and easy implementation, and something that we can do, if it's already set up in your account, or if your reminders are already set up in your account, this workflow that we just looked at can take a very short amount of time, maybe less than a week, depending on your EHR and some other things. So it's very, very quick and easy to set up. And from the staff side, there's really not a whole lot that needed. We need to make sure that we're reading that white space like we were talking about correctly, which once we do that, we can turn this on very, very fast.
Okay. Well, I guess to sum it up, we're going from this idea of we want to improve our 20% no-show rate into thinking about, okay, I have 60% calendar utilization. No shows as a concept can make that into 62% or whatever, but then rebooking, cancellation management, this concept can bump it up even higher. So essentially appointment slots are perishable, right? You either use them or you don't. You can't put them on a shelf. So it sounds like this is a great way to not only save appointments, but keep patients happy and off the phone. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys jumping on this quick webinar with me, talking about this shift in mindset. Really cool. But wait, there's more. It's the holiday season. It's the end of the year. And so we've actually put together a timely offer as it relates to this idea of customers that are currently taking advantage of actionable reminders in moving to implementing the patient rebooking use case. Kevin, would you like to expand on this offer that we've put together?
Yeah, absolutely. And as Joe mentioned, we know that our current customers already know the value of actionable reminders. And what we want to do is make this as easy as possible for you to jump in and join us in this capability. Normally, adding this type of scheduling capability would run in the range of an additional $69 per provider per month. However, because it's the holidays and because you guys are current customers, we want to make this really easy. So we are actually offering, if you can join in with us before December 3rd, that's 2 weeks from this Friday, we're offering this at $35 per provider per month. If you're able to join us by December 17th, which is our kind of sales quarter end, we're offering this at $49 per provider per month. Obviously, it's a little bit time bound, so we are really looking for customers who are ready to jump into this new functionality. We're also offering for the first 15 teams to reach out to us, we're offering a $50 gift card just to come and see the capability as applied to your use case, with an additional $50 afterwards if you didn't think it was worth your time. So that's the first 15 teams to join us. Again, one of the things to consider is if we saved one appointment per provider per month, on average, this solution at $35 per provider per month would pay for itself I would say between 4 and 5 times if we saved 1 slot per provider per month. On average, our calendar utilization impact with this tool is around 4 to 6%, averaging at 5. So the possibility for upside here is pretty immense. We'd be happy to talk with you about ROI calculation. But again, our goal here is to offer what we can to our current customers as a thank you for being with us and as an encouragement to take one extra step forward with Luma.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better myself, Kevin. There you have it. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. And if you think this is valuable and want to reach out, just look below. There'll be an easy form to fill out to talk to someone on the Luma Health team. Thanks all.